Hello, 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 guys. Welcome to this new edition of Mind Podcast. It's a midweek podcast, but we are not able to do an episode this coming weekend, so we decided to do one midweek. So you still have your weekly dose of politics, news, and everything, but we'll be back on our weekend schedule starting next week. But at least we made sure we did not skip this week.
No,
So
you
this
will
is
never
Adit.
skip. Whenever there's a nara called Congress Amar Rahe, you will always do one special podcast.
कांग्रेस अमर रहे या कांग्रेस में से अमरिंदर ना रहे आई डोंट नो विल
I
सी
don't know. I didn't say
व्हाट
that.
इज गोइंग ऑन
I, I ain't I ain't I ain't saying nothing.
I'm saying nothing. So, please, for our video listeners, you would have guessed it is. No, for our video listeners, you would have seen. For our audio listeners, you would have guessed. My compadre Pramod Kumar Buravalli is back with me to break the news of the week, poke a lot of fun at everyone, and probably poke a little bit of fun at each other as well. So let's get kicking, Pramod.
Well,
Yeah, this is amazing. The last time we recorded, we were saying about how what a dumb move was that Congress did what it did in Punjab, and now it seems like Amarinder Singh has done exactly what we predicted. He's gone out, split the party. He's not officially split the party, but he's announced his own party. He's probably going to form an alliance with the BJP, and he will get a few loyalists or a few cadres or a few karyakartas out of the Congress. So an election that could Congress actually have a legitimate chance of, I wouldn't say winning, but competing in, is gone. And now it's AAP versus Akalis.
AAP versus Akalis, and you never know
Hmm.
what kind of numbers the Amarinder Singh BJP combined will get as
Hmm.
well. Right now, it's
Hmm.
a five-way split.
Hmm.
AAP was ahead.
Hmm.
Now AAP's votes will be split by Amarinder,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
The second position was Akalis.
Hmm.
They will also get their votes split by Amrinder, which is
Hmm.
again weird.
Hmm.
Then Congress was from the beginning they were in the third position. They were never
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
latest polls were
Hmm.
giving them third position, even with Amrinder on. But then it just completely. They now have snatched the fifth position from the BJP
Yeah.
and are hurtling down towards the sixth position, even lower than the BSP. Because बताओ कहाँ से कौन से इस पे ये बैठेंगे. Now,
Yeah.
Amrinder is saying that you don't talk about secularism, don't talk about farm laws. This is all instigated by you guys. And now Sidhu is blaming Amrinder Singh for farm laws, Adit.
No.
Dekha?
I will. It's there is a brilliant sort of thing here, na? Raveen Tukral, I think, they have a report. I think he tweeted to Harish Rawat that don't forget, Congress took in Navjot Sidhu after he was with BJP for 14 years. And where did Nana Patole and Revant Reddy not come from RSS? And Pargat Singh was with Akali Dal for 4 years. So the funniest thing is that they asked a question: what the hell is Congress doing with Shiv Sena in Maharashtra? And that's a question I also have. What is Congress doing with Shiv Sena in Maharashtra if they are talking about, because they're if you remember that famous Pramod Mahajan speech, where he talked about democracy and communalism and secularism, right? So then he said, Maharashtra, Shiv Sena, BJP, most communal government had one communal rights. That is Pramod Mahajan's word. So then someone from Congress said, because you are in the government, that is why rights are less. He's like, फिर हम लोगों को eternal government में रखो. We will ensure no rights happen.
I think there are
That's
now
what he wrote.
three streams of Indian politics. One is the
हाँ,
communalism वाला जो टैग बीजेपी के ऊपर से हटेगा नहीं. दूसरा रहेगा सेक्युलरिज्म जो कम्युनिस्ट और बाकी सो कॉल्ड लेफ्ट लीनिंग पार्टीज लेंगे. और बीच वाले जो पार्टीज है जो कहीं के नहीं रहे, ना तो यहाँ पे जाएंगे यहाँ वहां जाएंगे, दे विल ओनली रिप्रेजेंट अपॉर्चुनिज्म. तो फिर भी उनको भी इज्म ही मिलेगा. कम्युनलिज्म सेक्युलरिज्म में से एक इज्म है. लुक एट दिस गाय सेइंग अबाउट सीएए. Look at
In the
what
glorious tradition of Venkaya Naidu, Mr. Pramod Kumar Buravalli has come up with a
they
communalism,
represent the opportunism
secularism, and
wing of the
opportunism.
that is the ism for them for the foreseeable future. Because कोई नहीं है मुद्दा सेट करने वाला. जो
Yeah.
जहां पे बैठा वो वहां का लोकल मुद्दा अपने में समा गया लेने की कोशिश कर रहा है. मिलिंद दियोरा इज सेइंग कि सीएए का कट ऑफ डेट 14 दिसंबर 31 नहीं होना चाहिए. अभी बैक डेट इसको फॉरवर्ड डेट कर दो और करंट कर दो, लाइक ग्रीन कार्ड वाला प्रोसेस, राइट? आई मीन दिस इज व्हाट काइंड ऑफ कांग्रेस दिस इज यार. ये तो दिस इज लाइक द लाफिंग स्टॉक of the best stock of Congress. and
Absolutely,
they are doing
absolutely.
harakiri. तो क्या पता है
नहीं नहीं,
by
देखो हाराकिरी तो कर ली, दे आर लुकिंग कि हाराकिरी आके बॉटम पे आ गए, एंड दे आर नाउ डिगिंग अ होल इन द बॉटम एंड सीइंग इफ दे कैन जंप इनटू इट.
yeah. They never saw the big sort of chasm that the past 2 years with this, who is the party president and all that. अचानक से ये कह रहे हैं कि नहीं in fact
Apparently, Congress Party president elections are going to happen in September 2022.
yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what to make of this. So why September? I mean, so whatever. I have no love lost for the Congress, but this is ridiculous. And
They're gone.
they
They're
have
gone.
4 very important states going to polls. You have Uttar Pradesh, you have
Mhm.
Punjab, you have Gujarat, and you have Uttarakhand. And in all 4 states, I mean, Uttar Pradesh ko chalo hata de because they are not in, but Uttarakhand, Punjab, and Gujarat, they are the primary challenger to the BJP, or in Punjab to the Akalis. They are in power in Punjab, of course, and in Uttar Pradesh, they are at such a bottomless pit that they actually had a chance to take up the space, or I wouldn't say take up the space, but at least try and be competitive, where Mayawati and Samajwadi have left the ground.
हाँ, in spite of the weaknesses in the बीजेपी यहाँ पे कोई दूध की धुली चीज नहीं है. आदित, बीजेपी was also going through several sort of upheavals in the party when you are
The
in
chief
power.
minister, I keep changing. I keep saying that in Gujarat and Uttarakhand, you lost 3 CM. You had 3
Yes,
CMs in 5 years. In Gujarat,
Gujarat they
you have
changed.
had just CM. But abhi koi baat bhi nahi kar. Now the transition of power, and some of it has to do with them, a lot of them being from the RSS, and there is a
No,
RSS. No, I'll tell you why. There is a discipline, RSS Karyakarta discipline, and that is the first. You always understand what the larger organization wants and what is the larger good. Second, Mr. Modi is the most popular leader in India. So ultimately, it is his word against the person in charge. So if he has made a decision, he's actually owning up to it. He's like, boss, agar aapko mera decision pasand hai, vote me out.
see that is I agree with you on the leverage that he has on anything and everything that is moving within the BJP and the Sangh. In fact, the Sangh is not too happy with the performance of BJP in certain states at the local level. जो local leaders को replace किया गया, but at the end of the day, the local leaders who were replaced was not people who were underperforming. They were people who were replaced because of local caste considerations. अबे येदुरप्पा को replace किया गया बमाई से, who is his disciple. So there's not a whole lot of differences came with the blessing of Yedurappa. Rupani was an exceptionally well-performing leader in Gujarat. उनको क्यों replace किया गया with Patel? Because they wanted a Patel face and they wanted to obviously take away the wind from a so-called Patel reservation movement that might happen. Uttarakhand,
But interestingly, the last time where the BJP in Gujarat was on a sticky wicket was in Saurashtra. So Rupani was a Jain from Saurashtra, but they have replaced him with a Patel from Ahmedabad, right? So it's both ways. Yes, there is a Patel leader, but you are also acknowledging that in Gujarat, BJP is a urban party with pockets of rural influence.
and
It's
I
a pan
think they are
Gujarat
doing
party,
this, they are
but they're
ramming
urban.
through this. हाँ, लेकिन सुनो Adit, but they are ramming through this because like you rightly said, in spite of all the problems with the BJP, the rating of Narendra Modi is at all-time high. The credibility he is bringing to the table is all-time high. तुम किसी state leader से भी पूछो जो maybe he or she is not in power, nobody is happy with the functioning of the BJP. But for them, the two blessings are they have a very good leader at the top and they have a dismal opposition जो question पूछने लायक ही नहीं है. तुम बोलो
It's not even about
कांग्रेस कहां से
questions.
पूछेगी?
हाँ,
क्वेश्चन
कौन
कहां से
है,
पूछेगी?
कौन पूछेगा?
पूछेगा कोई नहीं ना, इसीलिए तो ये रैम थ्रू कर रहे हैं. दैट इज द राम इन रैमिंग थ्रू, राइट? So उसमें
No,
तो राम यूज कर.
and some cases it is legitimate also, because some, you do have
Uttarakhand is
some
legit,
anti-income.
but Gujarat I was
You
not
do.
happy. Rupani was doing an
Well,
excellent
but
job.
but there is also one thing, na, in Gujarat. If you wanted to replace the council of ministers, you cannot just keep the chief minister and replace the council of ministers.
Well,
There, so
we'll come to that. We can't be disappointed with this because look at the way in which Chhattisgarh the stuff is happening. Rajasthan is almost on the brink. ये लोग जो चार major states हैं, उसमें महाराष्ट्र भी, that is not because of them, that is because of NCP that they are indirectly in power,
No,
right?
and technically they didn't even get elected in Maharashtra. Maharashtra voted
So,
for a BJP
so
Shiv Sena government.
but still 4 major state उनको दे दो, महाराष्ट्र, राजस्थान, of course Chhattisgarh and Punjab, right? Other than these 4, they are not in power anywhere else. In these
Yeah.
4, huh?
No, I was laughing because they had a chance in MP, but they messed it up with giving it to Kamal Nath. So they not only lost power, they lost even Jyotiraditya.
Now, in these 4 states also, as soon as they lose Punjab, which they will in a terrible manner, then Chhattisgarh, though it is just a state that might be considered a smaller state, but it has a larger strategic importance. But if they lose Punjab and Chhattisgarh, Adit, Rajasthan and this thing will happen. And for the first time, इंडिया में एक भी गवर्नमेंट कांग्रेस का नहीं रहेगा. ये 2 साल की बात है, भविष्यवाणी.
No, but I have to tell you this out to you, right? That it's not just the states going. Let's see who are the leaders in Congress that have had a problem, right? One is T.S. Singh Deo in Chhattisgarh, again a state leader. Problems with Mr. Bhupesh Baghel, who was the chosen of the Gandhi family. Amrinder Singh, who was not Gandhi family loyalist as much as the current guy is. Problems chut gaya. Sachin Pilot, who used to be a Rahul Gandhi loyalist, but Ashok Gehlot is a pretty much a Gandhi family darbari. Usko laga diya, so Pilot got mad and he almost quit the party, but abhi wo hai. With the hopefulness with the hope that 2023 में उसको face बनाएंगे. Jyotiraditya Scindia, again very close to Rahul Gandhi, but they favored Kamal Nath. Jyotiraditya Scindia quits the Congress, and right now Narendra Modi assigns him with the biggest disinvestment policy of his last 7 years, Air India. Right, so he's not going anywhere. Now he's within the BJP, and मुझे तो लगता है कि it is almost guaranteed that after Shivraj, you know, if not now, after 5 years, it will be Jyotiraditya. But he's a cabinet minister right now. And then you have Maharashtra, who is right now, it's a fragile coalition held together by a very aging Mr. Sharad Pawar. But after Sharad Pawar, after 10 years, 15 years, I mean, he's bound to step down from active politics after a few years. There is no one in the NCP. NCP will sustain because it has some cadre, but there is no one in the NCP who can have this coalition. So the Shiv Sainiks will go back to the BJP fold.
No,
I'm certain of this.
Next time, the Mumbai corporation elections, I think they're slated, all these municipal elections
in 4 months.
In the next 3 to 4 months. तो उसी में दूध का दूध पानी का पानी हो जाएगा, because Shiv Sena is all about Mumbai corporation and they will hold on to it. Right now, they have.
I don't think so. I do not. I mean, they might hold on to it, but they might not. They might need some support, right? The thing what has helped BJP is last time Sena BJP fought separately, but NCP Congress fought in an alliance, and so it was Sena versus BJP versus NCP Congress, right? So there is a lot of old Marathi Hindutva vote that used to go to Shiv Sena, who is not fans of what the NCP or the Congress stood for, right? So those areas where there will be a little bit of polarization, that will go to the BJP. So that is going to be a 10, I would say about 8 to 9% swing amongst the Marathi vote, right?
Amongst the Marathis who are the traditional
the traditional Shiv Sainiks who vote for Sena because of Bala Sahib, there is going to be a certain split. And it also depends on who BJP puts up as a corporators, right? Who BJP puts up as the Mumbai mayor is not the most popular mayor right now, so it's going to be very interesting times for the BMC elections.
And that will determine the bargaining chip. Obviously, the BJP cannot form the government on its own unless there is a election that is declared, right? And whether you like it or not, even today, even with the weekend Congress, the BJP itself does not have a leader, a charismatic leader. Obviously, Devendra Fadnavis has done well, but he's not a charismatic and a very influential leader. Even Narayan Rane, for whatever it is, he's still very well known in the Konkan belt. But Devendra Fadnavis cannot be projected as the CM face because of this opposition, but that both Shiv Sena and this thing has.
I think Fadnavis will be accommodated projected as a CM face because of 2-3 reasons. One, so he led a very clean administration. Second, he somehow has an image that Shivraj had, right? The only calculation that is a little bit thing is the caste calculation in Maharashtra, because Fadnavis is a Brahmin, and usually the CMs of Maharashtra have been Marathas, and so I don't know how how it will happen. But then with NCP, Sen and Congress being in an alliance, the Maratha vote will generally swing towards that. But with Narayan Rane coming within the BJP, who I think is
Yeah.
going to go and cause a lot of splits and divisions. So he's going to be their sort of the silver bullet with which they break up the Congress cadres.
It is a guaranteed. I've seen about a week ago when Sharad Pawar went on stage. There was a road project or something that was being inaugurated. Nitin Gadkari was there, and he cordially invited Sharad Pawar, who was effusive in praise of Nitin Gadkari. So it is always it's no secret that both of them share very cordial relationship, and something is brewing there. Some sort of an arrangement with
No.
NCP.
I don't think BJP and NCP will do an arrangement, but you never know, right? And then I want to see how Raj Thackeray pans out, because if they really want to break the back out of the Maratha vote,
Shiv Sena.
they will unleash Raj Thackeray on
Right.
Sena. And Raj Thackeray has only won, I think he only won 7 seats last time, 7 wards. He probably has like close to 3 or 4% vote, maybe up to
Right.
5%. But in terms of rallies and crowd pulling, and especially when you're talking about those dynamic rallies which can swing elections, he will give you that. I am no fan of his politics. I have questioned it many times, but then I've questioned Sena's politics as well. But I'm talking as an independent political analyst of what I see, how I see Mumbai is going. मेरी भड़ास मैं बाद में निकालूंगा about what I
But
what I feel.
एक दो साल में the map
हाँ.
of India will transform drastically with the Congress completely decimated. Adit. There is no way this party is going to revive itself to be even positioning.
Ultimately,
Remember, I used to always say that they are still a potent force if they are able to get 75 to 100 seats of their own at the Lok Sabha level and continue to hold on to 4 or 5 governments. That is good enough cash cow for them to sustain their party. But right now, their coffers are empty. They are actually getting no money from anywhere. And most importantly, the harakiris that these guys, especially Rahul and Priyanka, the tamashas that they are doing in UP is giving them whatever residual chance that they had, even if in coalition. Like MVA was that pilot, right? वो pilot project जिसको कहते हैं, to see if can we still survive by staying on somehow in power. हमको भी 50 पैसे दे देंगे जो भी इसमें करप्शन होगा, राइट? वो वाला भी अगर गिर जाएगा MVA in the next 6 months to 9 months, this is my prediction, that is it. That is the last nail. I think September 2022 they can have an election where the mother and son can vote for each other, and that's about it.
no, here is the thing.
It
The
will be
reason
an unprecedented election without a president.
without a president. No, first of all, there will be an election. That is
हाँ,
unprecedented for the Congress.
वो भी
You know?
unprecedented ही है, ठीक है, चलो.
And I'm hoping this time the bathroom doors are locked from the outside without no one inside it. Because
No one by
last
name
time,
सीताराम केसरी ने बेचारा उसको डाल देंगे.
अब the problem is na, because see Rahul Gandhi की कांग्रेस का problem क्या हुआ है? They have moved from Sitaram Kesari to Sitaram Yechuri, right? So
Yeah.
because they have gone into this, start taking this left of center. Now it is good enough for Sitaram Yechuri to do because he has only himself to elect. So he
Yeah.
can like get elected from Rajya Sabha or TV studios पे आके कुछ भी बकवास करेगा. So he can do. Rahul Gandhi had to allegedly run a national. Reason I saying allegedly run a national party is because we were told he's in charge, but he's not. So I don't understand if he wants this left wing. Ashok Malik said about many years ago that the Congress party wants Rahul Gandhi to become Arvind Kejriwal, but Rahul Gandhi himself wants to become Justin Trudeau, and that itself, that still holds.
I empathize with Rahul Gandhi that he has nobody to go to for advice. There is a lot of politicians after remarkable hibernation and unsuccessful stints in politics who have made a comeback. Comeback तो बहुत लोगों ने किया है. This man, after one defeat after the other, is being given these golden chances to make a comeback. When a 50-year-old young man, या भी ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव लीडर, ये वो कह के इतना भी मीडिया सपोर्ट कर दे, but he himself does not have it in him to really come up with something original. देखो हर एक लीडर में some little stuff खुद का कंटेंट होना चाहिए. It's always some taglines, hashtags and some sort of these upstart persons that he surrounded himself with, yeah, natural inclination hoga un logon ko sath jal hone ka. He just borrows the worst from everybody, doesn't understand the right turn that India has made for the past 7 years. It's beyond retrieval. Regional parties, dekho, all the regional parties, whoever is still remain in that original format, they've all gone towards soft hindutva. अब
Yeah.
सॉफ्ट हिंदुत्व इन अ बिलीविंग फॉर्मेट, ऐसा नहीं कि तुम जाके ऐसे ये कर दो, याद देवी सर्वभूतेषु कहना शुरू कर दो, ये ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए ना. It should be believable. It should show that this person really has some roots that he is tapping into. This family is pretty much gone, Adit. We have to talk in past tense now. The only political establishment that can really defeat the BJP in the next 2 to 7 years is if somebody who comes with a socialist mindset, who has some experience both in a governance standpoint, and who can say that, look, I can provide some alternatives. Not everything done by the BJP or Congress is wrong, but at least here are some alternative things, especially with farm laws. Especially there are many issues, by the way, that the opposition can tap into, but there's
No,
no
no,
deserving
boss.
people right now.
Here is my thing. This is why the Kejriwal experiment is very interesting, because I think Kejriwal is not attacking them from the socialist perspective, but he has actually found a space to the center of right, where he's trying to, like Atishi
लेकिन
Marlin of all the people coming out with this ludicrous
हाँ
thing
लेकिन
about in boycotting the India-Pakistan match, or
हाँ हाँ
let me just finish. I'm not saying it will be successful, but I'm saying he has
that space. I
realized,
agree with you on the
he
space.
is he has realized because केजरीवाल का पुराना record बहुत questionable है, but ultimately a leader who genuinely believes in market economics, ultimately a leader who believes in quoting nationalist ideas, will challenge the BJP. By that time, I think Mr. Modi would have retired, because
Of course,
वो
no,
leader
no,
को
there's no way.
national
Modi
stage
is,
पे आते हुए 5-7 साल लगेंगे. But this is
हाँ,
the only way you can question or pose a credible challenge.
Modi, the way things are, will be an undefeated leader at the time of his retirement, the time and place of his choosing. The way that you can counter the BJP are unlimited, but at the same time, the unique opportunity that Aam Aadmi Party is sitting on, unfortunately, because of their indecisive, fickle-minded leader in Arvind Kejriwal, who does not have an iota of personality and charm or leadership that is required to galvanize your cadre. हाँ, मैं सब मुफ्त में दे दूंगा, हम ये लोग मिली भगत हैं जी, ये तो that nothing pans out. They tried everywhere in the country. The only place where they were actually having some momentum was in Punjab, right? And that's also now gone with this Amrinder Singh complete, let's say, surprise thing, right? It will be somebody who's a rank outsider, Adit. I don't think this
So
juggernaut of the BJP can
So
be defeated so easily.
at the risk of sounding extremely chauvinistic and extremely taking a lot of liberties, we were being told, Gujaratis were being told in 2012 that India is not ready for the Gujarat model. हमने तो Gujarat model Indian politics पे डाल दिया, where if you want to question, if you want to pose a challenge to the BJP, you have to first come from the center of right space. Basically, that is what Congress is finding out doesn't work in Gujarat, so that is why they are not being elected. 2017 was the first time where they actually did not do the traditional left-wing nonsense that they do. You did not hear that much of Tista Setalwad, Shabnam Hashmi, and all those characters, which is why actually they came very close. And I don't mean they came in terms of vote percentage, in terms of seats, to not flipping, but to posing a credible challenge where BJP was actually concerned. He was these, because traditionally, what do Indians believe in? You have to take that positions. You can't take the positions you see on Twitter that Amartya Sen and this Kaushik Basu tells you from Cornell
And also
and
the
tell you,
economy has moved on. See, the economy has
yeah,
moved on to that रोना धोना, परसों मैं किसी से बात कर रहा था, एंड दे वर आल्सो सेइंग कि देखो, नाउ दिस पॉवर्टेरियन पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ द लेफ्ट और सेंटर लेफ्ट इज कंप्लीटली पास. कोई भी हो, all he or she is talking about is aspirations, getting a loan, getting a credit card, cell phones. This is a new economy that is a $3 trillion, which will jump leapfrog to $5 trillion in no time. Or 5 to 10 will be like a, the escape velocity of that is unbelievable. The trajectory that I'm looking at with the projections that are coming in. So $10 trillion economy, pata hai kaisa hoga, Adit? It
Yeah.
will, hopefully China will, not grow as much as I think it will grow. We'll be number 2 economy in the world, Adit. We'd have gone past
Yeah.
Japan and China in no time, and we'd be like 10. And look at the actual dividends. When a democracy performs at 10, तो ये multiplication every 5-10 years में double हो जाता है.
Absolutely.
Okay, look
Absolutely.
at the share market. Right now is the time. अगर 10-15 लाख आपके पास हो, the only safe instrument, I'll never say go and put it in a fixed deposit. मैं कहूंगा कि पहले म्यूचुअल फंड ढूंढो, कोई भी अच्छा सा म्यूचुअल फंड निकलेगा which is at least performing at a average of 18 to 19%, डालो, guaranteed return है. और मार्केट इतना ग्रो होने वाला है. A bull like Rakesh Jhunjhunwala is coming into an airline business which nobody has succeeded in. देखो, वो कोई आदमी
Yeah,
पागल
exactly.
नहीं है आने के लिए इसमें, जिसमें एयर इंडिया now Tata Air India, SpiceJet and Indigo are already well established players. Go Air is already there. अब इसमें जाके एक नया एयरलाइन, and by the way, Jet Airways is also being revived. Did you know that? Jet
I
Airways
know,
का
I know, I know.
company
I'm aware. And Jet Airways, yeah, without Naresh Goyal is actually a good brand. So,
अरे वो तो long haul airline के लिए it is the Etihad of India. You can still have really luxurious, well maintained flights, private lines. I'm really excited with the aviation industry that's the next 10-15 years in India. But at the same time, the fundamentals of the economy, once the manufacturing, this whole thing after COVID has to settle down a little bit, and all this make in India, all of these policies that the government rightfully has, at least at a policy level, has changed it. But in an implementation level, it has to be done by the state government only, right? Industry
absolutely,
promotion
absolutely.
कहाँ पे किया जाएगा? State पे
नहीं
किया
नहीं नहीं
जाएगा ना?
हो ही नहीं सकता ना.
So the aspirational India is completely gone right. अब उसको कंटेंट, हम हमारा इंटेलेक्चुअल राइट उस कंटेंट को हम भरेंगे. अब देखा तुमने परसों विक्रम संपत का जब ये हुआ था, जस्ट डाइग्रेसिंग अ लिटिल बिट जस्ट टू ब्रिंग इन अ पॉइंट, शशि थरूर के साथ उसका कोई ये हो रहा था इंडिया टुडे कॉन्क्लेव में, and he lampooned and lambasted the BJP for not changing a thing in the history textbook, and it got the maximum applause.
Yeah.
लोगों में ये है कि अरे बीजेपी है तो मुमकिन है, ये क्यों नहीं कर रहे हो? तुमने इतने टफ क्लाइमेट में सीए कर दिया, इसको कश्मीर में कर दिया, राम मंदिर ला रहे हो, ये कौन सा लो हैंगिंग?
Yeah, this is a lot of people are saying compared to CA, Ram Mandir and 370, this was probably an easier task.
Easier, थोड़ा तो चेंज करके बताओ, थोड़ा तो लैंग्वेज तो बदलना चाहिए ना. So again, when I go back to people, they're like, हाँ हम विश्वास करते हैं. This is the unlimited blank check they have given to Modi, and good for us that somebody at that level who's taking the right decisions, if he knows that people are very serious about it, he will get the changes done. Adit, he just has to align the resources. उसको कोई अच्छा सा टीम मिल जाए, अच्छे लोग मिल जाए कि इसमें ये काम करेंगे, 2-3 साल में रिजल्ट दिखाएंगे. Look at what Nitin Gadkari has done. All the performing ministries have done really well because he has empowered them. All the underperforming ministries are the ones who he has not paid attention to because he is so swamped with other things, right? So more power to him.
Yeah, no, and so okay, we are nearing to the end of the podcast time, because I mean, and I kid you not, we, Pramod and I, when we talked about it, this was not the course we decided to take for the podcast, but as our discussions go, there is no set format, and I'm glad we did what we did. But this is true that economically, this is what this is what it will take to question, the government and so forth. I want to move to another issue, and that's going to be our the last issue. I'm not referring to the Aryan Khan case. Yeah, please read what's out there, what law handles have been tweeting about it, because I have nothing to add really, because we don't know what is going on and what proofs are there and stuff. So we'll talk about it when we know the whole picture of the case. And anyone who thinks they know what they're talking about have no idea. They're all just assuming of which position they favor and so forth. So I would say I would urge everyone to read up on it. The thing about what happened in Bangladesh, right? There was Durga Puja when Navratri, a lot of people celebrate Navratri, a lot of people celebrate Durga Puja. In Bangladesh and West Bengal, Durga Puja is celebrated big way by the Hindus. And many pandals were attacked. In some cases, there was some rumors about things being. There were rumors, WhatsApp rumors and stuff against Hindus, and the Hindus in Bangladesh have been continuously facing, so much so that the government of India talked about it. But our relations with Bangladesh, particularly with the Sheikh Hasina government, have been very strong. So India has to approach this in a very balanced fashion, where we absolutely do have to raise what happened to the Hindus, but we almost have to encourage the government to do more, rather than starting to go complete all-out assault. So how do we balance? Because the pictures were horrifying, and I cannot believe what the Bangladeshi Hindus are facing.
Well, this is Pakistan instigated. I have no two words of saying it, because they were looking at all the possibilities of flaring trouble everywhere that they could. Assam, they tried with the border dispute. They're now obviously ratcheting up in Kashmir. They are obviously going to use Bangladesh and some of those ex-loyalists who are still there to try to weaken Sheikh Hasina's government, who's been the most friendliest government to India in a long time, and try to weaken that soft spot. But at the same time, you cannot deny it that this was a malicious attempt. Somebody planted the Quran at the feet of Ma Durga, and then this was what flared it up. And the ISKCON, which is a very docile and very fun-loving organization, took the brunt of it. Some of their main devotees and pujaris got killed, women raped. There will be retaliation on this. I don't know what kind of retaliation, to make sure that Sheikh Hasina understands the seriousness of it. She also has acted with alacrity. She did arrest the guy who placed the Quran at the feet of Ma Durga. And more and more arrests are being made, but that is not going to be sufficient. There's now about 100 temples that have been vandalized and destroyed. So the government has to take enough steps to assuage the feelings. Whoever wants to come to India, again, my request is, good that the Congress has raised it. Now let BJP take it as a challenge, because nobody else will raise it anymore, right? At the next session of the parliament, let it be made a permanent law of return. Anybody who has practiced an Indic faith outside of India, let alone forget those three countries where persecution happens on a day-to-day basis, but any country you are practicing these four Indic faiths, and if you want to add Christians who are in the neighboring countries, that's also fine, but Christians do get refugee status elsewhere as well. But okay, be it as it may, to assuage the feelings of the international countries, just add Christians to that list, and add Parsis, and add Kurds, Yazidis, anybody who feels persecuted. They should be able to apply for a visa to come in to India as a refugee, and then eventually become a permanent resident and a citizen, eventually, whatever the process is. This is a golden opportunity for the BJP, again, to stress on the victory of the CAA, when the Congress itself is demanding. The same crooks who were supporting the Shaheen Bagh and saying that this is a murder of secularism, the same Shiromani Akali Dal which was saying that, who was supporting, was saying that CAA is discriminatory against the Muslims, and lo and behold, when Sikhs in Afghanistan were being persecuted, they said, "Acha, acha, rule hai, leke aao unko," right?
Because you're looking at more than 1 crore Bangladeshi Hindus who are facing the brunt, and obviously not all are facing. And Sheikh Hasina has actually made a strong statement about it. In fact, one of her ministers actually said that 1972 ka वापस आना चाहिए. But there are two things about how Sheikh Hasina personally and her government has been towards India, which is a very friendly government. there is, because we handled the land swap deal and everything very, very comfortably and
Yeah.
peacefully, first time in the history of the world. But there is also the other fact that there are elements within the Bangladeshi establishment and the society which are not, which are inimical towards the Hindus, and you cannot just deny that and deny what ISKCON has faced, right? And the tragic part is the on Twitter, ISKCON was banned. I think ISKCON was
Yeah.
blocked or some ridiculous things. I mean, obviously it was done because a lot of people were blocked, reporting the account, but ISKCON has done nothing, absolutely nothing.
Yeah, this is again, we'll come to that later, the kind of
Mhm.
woke alliance
Mm.
that the left has with anybody who's anti-India. This is some
Yeah,
probably a larger topic, but your point is well taken. But the international pressure that ISKCON as a community has been able to exert is far more than what Indian government has been able to exert, with the
yeah.
British High Commissioner saying stuff, and Tulsi
No,
Gabbard
but
coming and
no, but
making a
I think that
statement.
is no. I think that is by design. I actually laud the Indian government. I think
Maybe, but
there
I
are
would say,
many things. There are many things you can do under the name of ISKCON with just a phone call. So
I, I would,
yeah.
I would say you're right. I would say that, look, Bangladesh is a country where Muslims have, not been as sort of inimical to a Hindu presence in comparison to Pakistan. But at the same
Mm,
time, if they require more, protection, just want to survive, they want to come back to India, they're more
mm,
than welcome. The CAA should be extended and made a permanent law of return. Adit, it's been a requirement for a long time, even during the time of Sushma Swaraj, when I personally asked her to grant temporary asylum to Romas who are being persecuted in Europe, Yazidis who were just going through the worst genocide and were recuperating. There were about 15 to 20,000 Yazidis that needed to relocate to India, and she responded favorably. But then the problem is that there are so many persecuted communities across the world. Unless India has safe havens everywhere, like in some let's say Kenya, some countries, friendly countries willing to take the numbers are just mind blowing, Adit, who would apply almost instantaneously. But at
mm,
least for the people who are professing and actively saying that they follow Indic faiths, India should be the mother that will protect its children. It is a superpower. It is a rising economic power. It will one day overtake China. Very soon, it will overtake China, I would say, in the next decade or so. And
mm.
we should be able to project our powers and make sure that the countries who are hosting our people do not take us very lightly. This is not a old
Absolutely.
India. It will retaliate massively in all spheres, Adit.
No, and but there are also, we have to look at it at a very global attitude that has come, thankfully, in the last 5 7 years, especially under Mr. Modi, about what India has to do for its people, about what India has to do about other Hindus in the world, and a recognition that it isn't an equal society around us as well. So we have to accordingly sort of do it. So
Yeah,
that being said.
the mortal fear, Adit. Let me just summarize this. The mortal
Mm,
fear under which some of the people who profess Indic faiths live in certain countries should cease. The way, there are model countries like Dubai. There are model countries like, even to a certain extent, Indonesia, for that matter, which have treated Hindus very well, very respectfully, and have given them the respect that they deserve equally. Those countries also have to be called out. It's not always the persecution story from everywhere, but
mm.
notoriously, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh are the three countries which.
Yeah, but
Uh,
I don't want to bracket Bangladesh with Pakistan and
no, no, no,
Afghanistan,
no,
because
no.
yeah,
They're
because
not the
I
same.
think
They're not.
it's been very different. I think in Bangladesh, yes, you have to have certain law, but I would say, given that the friendly government that we've had, we have to tread very, very carefully with Bangladesh.
Absolutely,
So
especially
so
not weak and Sheikh Hasina and her government.
no, yeah, no, she's been a true friend of India,
Yeah,
and I wouldn't want anything like that. So absolutely, but before we end, we have to do what we do, what we love doing the most, is give recommendations. So Pramod, any recommendations you have for our folks
I
this week?
have
I have
two.
a feeling both of us are going to have the same recommendation this week, but
As
you
far
go
as
first.
movie is concerned, then I will let you do the movie recommendation. I just started
Yes.
reading two books. One is What is Hinduism by David Frawley, Vamdeva
Mm,
Shastri, and the other book is India, that is Bharat, by my dear friend Sai Deepak, who have
mm,
just completed like 35 or 40 pages. It is so mesmerizing. I could not put it down. I will
mm,
try to finish it by the weekend and probably even write my first ever book review of Sai
mm,
Deepak's India, that is Bharat. But I
mm.
think you and I will have the same movie recommendation. So,
Yeah,
कह दो.
absolutely. So our movie recommendation this week is Sardar Udham by Shujit Sarkar, Vicky
Yeah.
Kaushal. Give those two people an award for
Oh,
this thing.
oh my
I
God.
You cannot. I mean, I fall short of words because I could talk about the movie when I saw the first 2 hours of it, but then the Jallianwala Bagh, and I don't want to say the or mess up the order of the movie of what it comes, but the Jallianwala Bagh sequence
I
is
was
the most
I was extremely
horrific.
disappointed with the chronology back and forth. ये आना
No,
जाना आना
no,
जाना which was
I'm glad they did, Pramod, because I'll
हाँ,
tell you, this is very unusual for Indian movies. This is very common for Western movies. The reason they did it was because they set it up as a Sherlockian, Hitchcockian sort of suspense movie
I
thriller
know, but
about what you're
हाँ.
not having, and then it goes into what, because they go the impact of the Jallianwala Bagh scene. If that's the first scene you saw, would have been lost.
Well, then if, with that perspective, then I will not say anything to that, because be it as it may, I was watching it with my two daughters. One is 14 years old, the other one is 7 years old.
Hmm.
They were just basically not able to see the scene, so they would put their blanket on top of their head, and because I was saying that no, watch it, just
Hmm.
go through
Hmm.
this. This is
Hmm.
what our ancestors have gone through. This is what our freedom fighters have gone
Yeah.
through. This is just one story. There are many stories like this, and they were just, I mean, they were crying, sobbing. My older daughter was in a state of shock. For
Hmm.
2 days, she refused to talk to me, didn't eat properly. My younger daughter actually fell asleep. She got so afraid, she fell asleep right after the Jallianwala Bagh incident. But the next day, she woke up crying that she had all those dead bodies staring at her in her dreams. But I
Hmm.
had to, I mean, I tell them these stories, but visually, when you look at it, Adit, मेरे रोंगटे तो दूर की बात है आदित. Now my daughters basically do not want to talk to anybody who's remotely British. They said कि आप तो हमेशा मुगलों के बारे में ये वो बोलते थे,
Hmm.
right? That was the more
Hmm. Hmm.
atrocious part, but no less what the British committed during their
No, so
150 years.
here is the thing, right? The Jallianwala Bagh scene is one of the hundreds atrocities, right? And there is a dialogue that Vicky Kaushal says that for you this is just a page in the history, and that just hit me so hard. And same thing happened to my mom and wife who were watching those movies with me. They actually got up halfway through the scene and closed their eyes because,
Yeah,
not out of disrespect for the movie or anything, it's just they couldn't see because it's shot so grimly, so beautifully, and the movie is so quiet. It
yeah,
is, the silences haunt you. You know, when you don't need loud rousing background scores, typical one liners कि मैं ये कर दूंगा, मैं वो कर दूंगा. There are some talented filmmakers can do that with the camera. You don't need dialogue writers. Just you need dialogue writers, but you just don't need that. And there is this wonderful line where, of course, the politics is there. It's a little left of center. He talks about that, but that's fine. It was a very different era, right? So you
अरे,
have to
as long as they
always.
fought for the freedom,
No, no,
I
no, no,
don't
no,
mind
no.
appreciating the.
I'm contextualizing it.
Yeah,
Bhagat Singh was inspired by the left of center politics. So you are not going to completely go away from it. But my thing is, he's made it to a point where you look beyond many things, right? There is this wonderful scene where someone who asks, why are you not marching for equality? All humans are equal. And he's like, I'm first
yes,
marching
I'm
for
a
my
slave.
freedom because I'm a
Yeah, I'm
slave.
a slave.
And
I'm a
then
slave.
I'll march for equality,
Can
right?
you believe,
So,
Adit, 70 years ago we were slaves.
yeah,
70 years
unbelievable.
ago we were slaves. एंड
Yeah,
दैट मूवी,
exactly.
जब मेरी बड़ी वाली वो रो रही थी, कभी कभी वो
Mm,
आके अभी अमेरिकन हिस्ट्री वो पढ़ रही है ना, तो शी सीज ऑल दोस एग्जांपल्स ऑफ टॉर्चर एंड हाउ दे वर पुट इन चेन्स एंड ऑल दैट, एंड And she comes back and says, Papa, this is exactly what our people also went through. मैंने कहा हाँ, black और brown में कोई difference नहीं है बेटा. For us, we were all slaves, so we have to empathize with what the black people went through. But we went through much more horrors. The way people were tied to the
And
cannons and thrown away.
let's be honest here, okay? I mean, I don't know about everyone else, but I'll tell you about my thing. I mean, I knew how bad Michael O'Dwyer had been for India, but I did not know the extent of the horror that Michael O'Dwyer wreaked on our on Punjab. I mean, I knew about the Rawl attack, I
Yeah.
knew about what they did, but the extent of the horror where he talks, where he actually doesn't mind subjugating, and then he remains completely unapologetic about it. That is shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, he did it willfully. There was always the vilification that was happening in the British left press on him, but then quietly, because the conservatives were in power, he was elevated to a lot of
Hmm.
positions, even post retirement. And you saw that, he was being felicitated in the meeting where he gets assassinated.
Yeah.
And then the World War took over the headlines. Otherwise, it would have remained a big headline for a long time, because Udham Singh was trying to revive the Ghadar party. The Ghadar party actually attempted to overthrow the British violently right during the First World War, and then after
Yeah.
the decimation of the Republic HRSA, after the death of Chandrasekhar Azad, the party completely got disbanded, and they had no funds left.
No,
Whatever
and before that, you had the Japanese steamer ship Komagata Maru, where many Gadar
in
party,
Canada,
in
yeah,
Canada, 352, 337 Sikhs, 27 Muslims, 12 Hindus,
yeah,
all Punjabis were trying to Canada, out of which 24 were admitted, and the
yeah,
352 were forced to leave. And then we all know what happened, and then eventually I think Canada apologized for it, and what happened, but the sad. I mean,
It's Shashi Tharoor, for whatever it is. He's probably the only best ever thing that he will be remembered for is the book he's written on
yeah.
the savagery of the British Empire, and how they were kept away from it. The general public today, even today, does not
Mm.
know what the British Empire did outside its shores, which is kudos
No,
to
it
their
can't, because
mainstream media.
America,
Kudos to their mainstream
is
media.
filled. America is filled with either Anglophiles or people who are obsessed with the royal family of what
Yeah,
Meghan Markle will do and
yeah,
what Kate will do, and that's fine. Be obsessed with it, but also know that 100 years ago, when you watch The Crown, know that King George VI and
yeah.
his predecessors, even including Elizabeth too, but King George VI, King George V, they all, or Queen Victoria when she was the Empress of India, they all presided over an empire that subjugated the history of British India from 1757 to 80. And I'm using the term British India only because the history of India, we talk about the savagery of the British. The history of British India, they omit the savageries, but they say nonsense like "हमने तो tracks बनाए," and I'm like, goodness gracious. And I mean, I was so shocked that, as opposed to in opposition to Shashi Tharoor, or I mean Zarir Masani, the son of Minu Masani of all the people, said some ridiculous. He wrote this piece of colonial apologia about praising
I
the
know,
British
which
for
is
war. I
why the
was
books by Sai Deepak, Vikram Sampath, all are very important
And I have
ingredients in
grown. I mean,
making
Minu
this.
Masani was an elected Lok Sabha MP, the
Yeah,
doyen of the right of center movement in India, right? Right, talked about market
I
politics. I
know.
mean, Minu Masani, I've
You
grown
can,
up reading
you can.
about him.
That is what
So
I'm
his
very
son
disgusted
went to
with
write
the
rubbish about
opposition.
this. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
was
can hate
sad.
Modi all you want. You can
Yeah.
politically oppose him. You can say he's cruel dictator, jo bhi ho, but don't turn anti-India. Even of all people, people like Shashi Tharoor and other people who have written exceptional
Hmm.
books on the kind of debauchery and the savagery of all the
Hmm.
colonial empires. Now, forget just the British Empire; it was the same template that they used everywhere. And now, look at what this woke, had it not turned completely woke, had a point. The point
Hmm.
was that the colonial narrative has to be, discussed. You have to decolonize. You have to say these things openly. Now in the
Hmm.
United States, at least the Native Americans are finding a voice and saying some stuff. The
Hmm.
atrocities that they faced. Adit,
Hmm.
यहाँ पे
Hmm.
कितने लोगों को मार दिया यार? हमारे हमारे पूर्वज तो कह कह के गए कि हमारे तो जिंदगियां बर्बाद कर दी। इन लोगों ने हर एक जगह पे जिंदगी बर्बाद कर दी थी यार, हर एक जगह पे, wherever they set foot. So, I mean, I'm very
Fully.
happy that these two came to me at the same time. One is this Udham Singh wala movie, जो हमको खून खोलने पे मजबूर करता है. But then you also need the content, right? To be in this narrative battle. I would definitely recommend Aadit to you as well to get the India that is Bharat, because Sai addresses the legality and the constitutionality of where we are at right now. It's an
Yeah.
excellent review.
And as like we said, we started off it just being a political podcast. Here we are an hour later, having talked about books, movies, and all that. Leave your comments, guys. Write to us. I hope you liked what we did. We had a lot of fun recording this. We'll be back next week, maybe a week and a half with more, maybe with a couple of live streams. We haven't done one for our 300th podcast, especially. Pramod and I will get together. Maybe we'll bring in experts and we'll do a mind maker special. So
Absolutely, and as the next few months we will see that कांग्रेस में कितने लोग अमर रहेंगे, कितने लोग अमर नहीं रहेंगे, देखा जाएगा.
but we'll have a lot of podcasts, and Pramod will be back with all his one-liners. So thank you guys for joining in,
Yeah.
and please like, subscribe, share, tweet, whatever your chosen platform, but share the love, guys. Thank you, and it's goodbye.